Iowa, I received a letter from Dr. Albert Shaw, the editorial writer for the Minneapolis Tribune, now editor of Review of Reviews, stating that there was to be organized a new high school. And he wanted to know if this gentleman, Mr. Greer, would be the principal. So Mr. Greer thought about it, and then he got another letter from someone by Mr. Bradley, and Bradley said, "Oh, we're sure to hire you. We'll interview, but we can promise you you'll get the job." I don't think they do things that way anymore. So that kind of amazed me. So he journeyed from Iowa, from Davenport up here, in January 2nd, 1889. Can you imagine? It probably was really cold and difficult to get around back then. And all he found was the foundation. He just found the foundation. So the way he got here is he came down 20th Avenue. Now 20th Avenue is now called Broadway, and at one time it was called Christmas Avenue. For those of you that don't know me, I am a North Side historian. I take groups of people through all the way from Brooklyn Center, all the way down to Bryn Mawr, and I do historical tours with people from 2 hours to 5 hours long, however long we decide we wanted to make. So anyway, he says, "I had some difficulty in finding the place, and when I did, I was disappointed, to put it mildly. It seemed to me that a high school could never be developed where there was nothing in sight but woods, squirrels, and a number of cows drinking leisurely from the quiet waters of Todd's Pond." Okay, so that's right over here. There was a pond, and it was called Todd's Pond. I began to mentally kick myself for signing a contract before I had looked over the district. While I sat on a pile of rocks, I seriously analyzed the situation. Now the architect from the Board of Education, Mr. Pardee, came up and he introduced himself. He was soon aware of my disturbed condition of mind. He was not at all in sympathy with my thought and feelings. He took me over the north side, showed me where the people lived, and described to me the sort of people they were. He himself had moved on the north side and referred it to the other parts of the city, and he did not convince me at the time that I was wrong, but he made me feel a great deal better. A discouraging outlook. I did not return to Minneapolis until January 1889, when I threw myself immediately into the work of organizing the school, and the outlook was so discouraging. It seemed as though I had to make something out of nothing. I was not personally acquainted with a single student, or any teacher, or any individual in the entire district, nor were the different teachers and children acquainted with each other. The children had been located in attics. They found the children in attics, in stores. They found the children in churches. And they were to be transferred to the new building when the new semester opened. So that would have been right after January, within January. The furnishings were not to be ready until that time. When the school did open, about 800 children came with their teachers. 800. So they brought not only the high school kids, but they also brought some elementary kids in. On a beautiful January morning with the mercury a number of degrees below zero, the North Heights, an organization, was born. So this would be placed at 1889 in January. There were 35 in the high school department, and the others were all in grade school. The conditions were trying. We are expected to make a high school that would hold its students against the attractions of Central High and develop a scholarship so they could enter with credit into the work of the university. And any student could at that time enter Central if he wanted to, or she wanted to. We did not have a dollar's worth of apparatus for science work, nor did we have a single book in our library, not even a dictionary. The only visible means on hand out there to start a school was a very enthusiastic core of teachers and a very loyal and earnest set of children. The teachers and the children were all any principal could ask. And then he goes on to talk about the students in here. We graduated our first class of 16 in 1891, and we called them the Sweet 16. I thought that was interesting. The next section is about our lack of books. The story of how we secured books for the North Side is an interesting one. It's not possible to build up a good working school library all at once, especially was this true at that time, inasmuch as we had to build up all other departments. To ask the Board of Education to furnish us with books we needed was to invite defeat. I spent the hours of midnight working on that problem. a trip to the public library, this would be downtown, okay, required on a horse car about 2 hours time. So from here to get downtown took 2 hours by horse car. This time, of course, the students could not take, if we expected them to take study hours, the students, as a rule, had to work outside of school hours and had only their evenings to study. It was necessary then, if we were to maintain scholarship, to get the books to the school and into the hands of the students without taking their time. The question was how? And so then he talks about how they went over to Mr. Pratt's house over on the north side, and they came up with an idea. And this was their idea. They approached members of the library board, who gave us but little hope and politely referred us to a librarian who eventually left us and went to the Congressional Library in Washington. They kind of laughed at us. They had said the library could not go out into the woods to deliver books. There were many other places in the city that had many more people than the north side, and the other people, other than the north side, read more books. If he did anything all, this man made us upset, but he turned to his records and stated that only 6 books had gone north of the railroad tracks during the past month from the downtown library. Only 6 books had been checked out. We were given very plainly but very politely to understand that our request was hopeless, and we went home to think, but not to give up. Well, the demand of teachers and the students for books was now more vigorous than ever, and we had to act again. So they studied a plan where the school could become the distributor of books. And we drew a map which showed that the scholars from North High School, which would be over there, could reach every home on the north side, and we began to talk to the head librarian again. We wanted to prove that the circulation would increase. So then he goes on to talking about another meeting, and he drove this person who had dubious thoughts about whether or not this was possible. He drove him around, and then he got up on the top of the school over there, and he brought field glasses so the gentleman could look all around the north side and see all the houses that were there. He said we began to count the new roofs inside. Mr. Abernathy's figure soon reached the hundreds. So Mr. Abernathy was really out to sell this. So anyway, what they did is we went directly to the library with their plan. Within 24 hours, we had the written proposition to the school board, to the library board, that the school board would furnish light, heat, and a room at North High School building right over there, if the library board would put in books. And so then he said that what happened is they immediately started furnishing books, the library board did, and they put them over there in North High. The circulation on the north side sprang immediately from 600 to 600 books per month, and the children often had more books to carry home than they used in school. And what eventually happened then is that they proved the point that people on the north side really do read, and because of that, then this institution, or this building, was built as the first branch library. And he goes on to say that once this building proved that people in the woods do read, that there could be other branch libraries. And so not only was this particular building important to the north side, but it provided impetus for the other branch libraries throughout Minneapolis to be built. Thank you.